Hello, what's up, everybody? Happy New Year. As promised, Hanami 2.0, the first alpha, will be out this month, and I'm here today to explain a little bit what's going on in on the Hanami side, and especially for this PR that you can see in the screen, the number 975, which is a incremental rewriting of the core of the project. Yes, that I decided to start from scratch by keeping all the wall specs and the specs that we have so from the past. So we want to make sure that we don't have regressions, but at the same time I wanted to get rid of the some legacy code that we have, and without rewriting it was impossible to move forward. Also because there was legacy code back in the days of Lotus for people that are following Hanami when it used to be called like that. So that means code from 2013 or so on that changed a lot. That was far away from the vision that I have today for Hanami and for its future. So why I'm recording this video, because this application here, sorry, this PR here can be a little bit intimidating to read, and I don't expect you to see all the details or what's changed or what not. If you are interested to just look at the result of how to use Hanami in 2.0, you can check out this repository, which this is my username and this is SoundDeck. It's just trivial app that works, that points the gem file to this PR that you can see here in Hanami. So the first thing, the most important thing that I wanted to change was to simplify a lot the generated code and the amount of settings that a newcomer will see when you create a new project with a Hanami new command. For instance, this is the classical bookshelf example that I promote every time that I'll talk about basics of Hanami. So what you get here is the first of all config environment, which holds the general settings of Hanami. It does all the setup, bundler setup. It requires a Hanami model if you bundled it, and a lot of required to put together the several pieces of an Hanami project. And then you have the configuration DSL to tell where the database is, where to save logs if you don't forward them to standard output, and so on. So okay, this is the first thing that you will see when you generate a new project. And the other thing is a little bit too overwhelming in my opinion. Web application, you have for each application inside your project, you've got these kind of settings, and it generates more than 300 lines of code. Why is that? Because in the past I wanted to hide nothing from your eyes. That means everything that is generated there in this file, it's what you get. There is no defaults bring by the framework. So while this is really easy to read through, it can be again intimidating for the newcomer, or sometimes useless. Let's have a look at this root, for instance. This defines where to what's the root of this slice of the project. It means this dir refers to apps web, and in my opinion, nobody changed that. In my experience, there is a level of customization that is too much. It's overwhelming again for people that don't know about Hanami. So there is no value to have that setting generated when you do Hanami new. And this is true for other things like, the loading paths were to, eager load controllers views and so on. And then you have several files for the routing and so on. So again, the point is to slim down things a lot with two things basically. First of all, the idea is to get rid of these kind of application class that brings all the settings. So when you got a lot of Hanami apps inside your bookshelf project, you end up with apps web application or apps admin application too, that basically is a little bit redundant, but it refers to a different part of your app. So everything is gone in Hanami 2.0. How things will work? First of all, I renamed this environment here. Where is this? The first file that I showed to you, which was config environment, now has been renamed to config application. Why is that? There is the new concept of application as a whole. Let me give you a little digression here. So with Hanami 1.0, we refer to project, to the bookshelf product that you build, okay, that can hold several applications, right? Like in this case, admin and web, okay. This was a little bit confusing because we used it to interchange project and app, and it was a source of confusion. Again, bookshelf is a project. It's my product that I use on bookshelf.com that holds several rack applications, several Hanami applications, okay? I don't know what I did here. So again, this was a little bit confusing. What I want to simplify is the terms here. I want to have this product that you build not named anymore as a project, but named as an application. Hence, that's why we have this application here that inherits from Hanami application, and it's sitting in the config/application.rb file. Okay, so you can refer to your Hanami app as your product that you are building. The other aspect that I want to keep but change the name is this apps thing that in the future I want to rename as slices. Okay, so you get a slice, which is a portion of your Hanami application that's called in this case SoundDeck. Okay, so by doing so, by rearranging name and the naming of the concepts and rearranging the settings, we have a more simplified structure. This can be an example of a generated code. As you can see, it's way simpler than this. It still lacks some settings, but it's more all the setup part here is gone and so on. And also, if you do 3 apps, one apps, this probably will be renamed to slices, but you don't have anymore the application file here. Okay, you have the action, the authentication, blah blah blah, but you don't have anymore this huge bag of settings. These 300 and more lines of code are gone. Okay, that is the first concept. Everything has been removed from there, unified in config application with a lot of defaults. For instance, let me show you in the PR. What is this? This is Hanami. This is the application, okay? It has some configuration at the class level, which is the bare minimum of global state that we can bring, and this is the initialize method at the call. So in the end, the Hanami application will be nothing more than a rack compatible application that you can mount with your rack system. That can be your Puma server or whatever. Okay, where is the part that I want to show you in PR? Okay, this is loading a little bit more. It could be shuts down for this website. Let's see if reloading the page will show us what I'm looking for. There we go. This is the configuration, okay? That powers this config object here, okay? We've got a lot of defaults. When you initialize it, it loads a lot of defaults for you. So the code that is generated can be slimmed down a lot because now the configuration is opinionated, whereas in the past it used to be everything explicit here, but again, overwhelming. So what else? This, as I said before, this is an incremental rewriting. So the alpha version that you will see in a couple of weeks will not include Hanami model, will not include any view. That was the only sane way for us to review things and to make sure that alpha by alpha, beta by beta, things will work properly. So in the PR, there are several areas that I covered here in the explanation. The other one, yeah, no more application to hold settings. That's what I just said. This is gone from Hanami 1.0. What else? This is the assignment. Just different syntax that simplifies a lot how the implementation of these cookies and similar methods. Oh, the other thing that was confusing for people was this security stuff, content security policy, for instance, with the explicit setting of how content security policy works, and you had the chance to change these from app content security policy, right? From app to app. This is the application named web, and this is the application named admin. Now, Hanami will still support content security policy because it's really important for security of your users, but it's gone. It's gone in terms of in terms of setting that you see in your face over there, because there is no sense. There are defaults that we decide that they can work with a majority of apps. If you need to configure something, you can overwrite here and say this is my content security policy. But there is no need for you to see it as a first thing in the app. But how can I change the settings of a content security policy? Because you basically you have different slices in your app that can be the front-end app that your users are using, and you can have several JavaScript libraries that you may want to load from third-party libraries, and you want to define that to whitelist those libraries with the content security policy and be maybe a little bit more permissive. But in your admin app, you have a slimmed down UI, and you want less libraries to be loaded, and you want a more strict content security policy. Well, those kind of customizations can be done here. Let me introduce you a new concept here, and action here. Those are actions at the slice level. Again, these still report apps, but will be probably changed soon to slices. When your app will be generated, this is what you get. Just basically a superclass that inherits directly from Hanami Action, and it has its own Ruby module, and it's a superclass. And the other actions in the app will be sitting here: apps, web, actions, home index, and it will inherit from this here. This is an action here. So in case you want to set a different content security policy, you will have here a way to do so via a configuration DSL or via an include a private method to do so. So again, to reiterate over the concept, explicit settings are gone. Customization will be done not in this bag, gigantic bag of settings, which can use it to hold too much stuff, in my opinion. The settings for the actions, because in the end this content security policy is a header, is an HTTP response header, and this is mixed in with the view, the helpers that you have in the views, and with the exceptions, how to handle them, and assets and so on. So everything has been removed from the default. It has the settings are opinionated, and also you have the right place where to put customizations. In this case, for content security policy, again, it's an HTTP response header, so actions are the HTTP are the component that deals with the HTTP. So this is where you customize your content security policy. So let's get back to the PR. Here you have listed all the settings that are already implemented in a config application, which let me give you a little bit more. All the settings that are available for this config guy here are listed here. In this application example, I didn't use all of them to not confuse you. The security settings, again, content security policy, and so on. Then, next topic. What is this container guy? What we are trying to do with Hanami 2.0 is to remove the global state of all the frameworks. Most of the time, to support multiple slices, aka applications, I had to do some nasty metaprogramming hacks to make possible to have multiple Hanami controller instances to work together in the same bookshelf app. So that is, metaprogramming. We don't like metaprogramming. We'd like to reduce as much as we can. So what I did in the past, and I'm trying to do across all the Hanami gems, is to not have any more settings like this. For instance, Hanami controller configuration. This is gone. Okay, this is gone. Everything will be handled by a kind of gigantic IOC container. That means a registry where you say, hey, this is the configuration for this set of actions for this web slice, for this admin slice. Please hold this reference, and the actions would be instantiated by looking at the right configuration. These, again, apart from reducing the amount of metaprogramming in the internals of the framework, also makes things more simpler to test. So it makes our life as maintainer a lot easier. So this container here, it also has another value for you. In the subsequent, not in the first alpha, but in the future alpha versions, you'll be able to register your own components and to reuse them. For instance, repositories. You know that each time you need to use a repository, you need to instantiate a new one and then use. What we want to do is to make all the repositories, the actions, and so on to be instantiated only once and reused for each upcoming request. That should turn into a more efficient way of using the memory of your app. Also, alongside with that, this concept of booting components would be lazy. That means when you are starting your Hanami server, everything will be booted up because you are serving your app in, for instance, in production or locally, whatever, but you need all the components to be booted. But for other usages of Hanami, for instance, let's say you are printing your routes with this command here, you know, Hanami routes. You don't need, for instance, to load all the actions, all the repositories, and so on. So with this mechanism, we are able to lazily load only the components that we need. And this is powered, by the way, via Dry System, because it allows us for third-party plugins to hook into the boot process of an Hanami application. Other thing, I removed Shotgun because Shotgun was the gem that allowed us to do code reloading. Please don't panic, code reloading is still here as a feature, but has been removed from Hanami as a gem into Hanami Reloader. Okay, so in development you still will be able to have code reloading. We just moved away from the core of the project for two reasons. One is to not carry over production Hanami code that you don't need in production, and code reloading is one example. Okay, when you boot your app in production, it stays as it is until the next deploy, whereas locally you keep changing it, right? So this Hanami Reloader is able to hook into Hanami server command and to offer code reloading. Now we decided to remove Shotgun because it had a lot of problems. First of all, it took us a few years to get to the point where Shotgun was kind of decent for MRI, which is the main Ruby distribution, under Unix system, including Mac OS. It doesn't work on Windows, which is a problem because it uses internally fork, and the Windows platforms doesn't know about fork, and because it wasn't compatible with the web console gem that we now use in development mode to show you the errors and the stack trace that your app may generate. So this new Hanami Reloader gem will work with the guard. And I'm manually testing it since 1 year and a half now with this gem Hanami Reloader alongside with Puma and localhost, and it works just great. Next topic, remove the Hanami RC. That means this is again another simplification of the settings that a project, a fresh new product has when you do a Hanami new. I'll show you. This is the classic Hanami RC file that now is gone. We can infer all those informations from other the trustable sources, so there is no way, no need anymore to have this Hanami RC configuration file. Again, simplification, simplification, simplification. What else? Routes. Okay, this is another interesting topic. So in the past we had okay, config environment here. When you use it to do mount admin application, web application, what happened at this point? We had one router here, one global router that used to dispatch requests between those two guys here. If a request starts with as a path that starts with admin, then tell this admin application to do whatever they need to do. If it starts with the root, then do this application here, which is a kind of fallback. Okay, so we have one global router just as a switch between this path here and this fallback here. Then this doesn't have any. Let me generate action web home index URL. Okay, let me get back and reload this here. So at this point, when this global router here had pick one of those two, then let's say was the root request, the requested root of the path, then we are here in the routes here of the web application and say, oh, you are asking me something that starts with just the slash, which refers to home index, or in case of an unknown path, it just returns for a not found page. So we had again one global router plus n routers, one for each application here. And as you can guess, this is not efficient because we have one switch here and then the internal switch to get to the actual action. What happens here in 2.0, we have only one global routes. Oh, and I forgot to say that you've got n routing configuration files, of course, one for each app, which is too much in my opinion. So again, simplification, we have only one config routes at the level of your app, and you have this kind of namespaces here when you say I mount this web slice at this slash prefix, and I mount the admin slice at this slash admin, whatever it is. So when you add, this will be done via the code generator, but I'm just giving you idea here. Books ID, which refers to books show. This is just one tire. We have only one router here. We had, in this case of this bookshelf app, we used to have one global router plus two routers because we have app 3L. We have 1 and 2, so for a total of 3 routers, okay, which is again not efficient. Here we have only one router, which is the bare minimum set number of routers that we can have. So this is much more efficient in terms of routing speed, and this router here is then assigned here, instantiated here, routes blah blah blah, when you do application, when internally the framework does somedeck application.new, then it assigns internally only this router here. Okay, so this is done for two reasons again. One is speed of execution, because we have only one router rather than a two-tier routing system. The second one is to get rid of all those config routes files in favor of just one here. So what else? Oh well, and the last one is about the inflections. I started this dry gem that will be now used by Hanami 2.0. So this is an attempt to unify the effort of inflections in the Ruby community. It has old code from Inflecto, from Hanami Utils, from Rails, from the M core. So this is the state of the art of the inflections in Ruby land, and this is, as usual, in the dry ecosystem you will find really focused gems, and this is only for inflections. The purpose was to bring the attention of all the players that need a library for inflections to work, and we are one of them. So I started this project, and now it's maintained by Dry. So you can set up the inflections here, and this is useful, for instance, when code generators are run or when you use RESTful resources, all the places where Hanami has to guess the singularization or the pluralization of your one terms. And last thing, but not last, you don't by installing the upcoming alpha, you don't get any useful command rather than version and server for now, because again this is being built gradually. That was only the same way to build to rewrite Hanami. So follow up for this. If you are interested, please have a look. Give a look at this PR again. This can be intimidating, but I hope this explanation helps you to dig more in the code and what is going on, what would be Hanami in the future. Or you can comment if you have questions. You can comment here. Again, this is Hanami/Hanami over GitHub, and this is the PR 1975. Or you can reach me. This is my username over here GitHub, and the same username over Twitter. So drop me a DM or a mention, and I'll be more than happy to clarify your intent. For other things, we have the Gitter chat, and yeah, I think that's it. So have a good one until next video.